It was a lazy Saturday morning, and I, Noah Bennett, was sprawled across the couch in my threadbare hoodie and pajama pants that had survived one too many washes. My only plan was to dominate a few levels of my new video game before the world could intrude. That fantasy shattered when someone pounded on the front door like they were auditioning for a SWAT team. I nearly launched my controller across the room, heart racing as I crept to the peephole. Two men stood outside, sporting polo shirts with Willow Guard inspector patches that looked slapped on in a rush. One clutched a clipboard, the other fiddled with a fake earpiece, like a kid playing spy. Ignoring them was tempting, but curiosity won. What if it was urgent? Against my better judgment, I cracked the door open. Before I could speak, the taller one wedged his foot in the gap and snapped, "Mandatory inspection. HOA orders. Let us in." I froze, brain foggy from sleep. You sure?" "I didn't get any notice," I stammered. Clipboard guy flipped through blank pages with a smirk that screamed trouble. Without waiting, they shoved past me, moving like they'd memorized the house's layout. My gut screamed something was wrong. The tall one drifted toward the bedrooms while his buddy poked at light fixtures, not jotting a single note. They weren't inspecting, they were snooping. One rifled through coats in the hall closet, the other tugged at the locked basement door, muttering about code compliance. My pulse hammered. This wasn't an inspection, it was a setup. Then I remembered the silent alarm my mom, Claire Bennett, had installed years ago, a precaution from her FBI days. It was hidden under the kitchen counter. I needed a distraction. "I'll grab my HO'd paperwork," I announced, bolting to the kitchen. I fumbled through a drawer, hands slipping beneath the counter to press the button 3 times, code for serious trouble. Somewhere in the basement, Mom's monitors would light up. These clowns had no idea they'd picked the wrong house. Clipboard guy wandered into the living room, eyeing my dad's vintage stereo like it was a cash prize. I forced a grin. "So, what's this inspection for? Rogue garden gnomes?" He chuckled awkwardly, muttering about unauthorized modifications, but his eyes kept darting to valuables. The tall one grew bolder, banging on the basement door and pulling a Slim Jim from his pocket, the kind used to break into cars. Panic clawed at me, but I kept my face neutral. "Hey, basement's off limits." "Mold issues," I coughed loudly. He flashed a fake grin. "We'll be quick." Downstairs, Mom was already moving. Her screen showed every angle of the house, catching their clumsy break-in attempts and laughable badges. She strapped on her tactical vest, clipped her FBI badge to her belt, and checked her Glock. 3 taps meant no games. I glanced at my phone under the counter. A text from Mom. "Stay calm. Stall. Showtime in 60 seconds. The tall guy kicked at the basement door while clipboard guy snooped in the kitchen. I coughed theatrically. "If you're gonna break Mom's door," clipboard guy laughed, but the air was electric with tension. Then, as the tall one gave the door a final kick, it swung open, not from his effort. Mom stood there, Glock raised, badge gleaming. "Federal agent. Hands up now," she barked. The room froze. Clipboard guy dropped his tablet, the clatter like a gunshot. The tall one's hand shot up, eyes wide with terror. I bit my cheek to keep from laughing. Mom's backup team stormed in, tactical gear glinting, radios crackling. They cuffed clipboard guy in seconds. The tall one stammered about authorized entry, but Mom cut him off. "You broke into a federal surveillance site. Genius move." As agents read their rights, I leaned against the counter, savoring the chaos. These idiots had walked into a trap run by the one house in Cedar Valley wired for war. As the fake inspectors were hauled away in cuffs, clipboard guy shot me a look, half dread, half disbelief. I waved cheerfully. "Thanks for raiding our hospitality." Mom holstered her Glock and smirked. "Next time someone knocks claiming HOA, we answer with a warrant." The house fell silent, but my head was spinning. Mom beckoned me to the basement, and my jaw dropped. It wasn't a basement, it was a command center. Monitors flickered with camera feeds, a corkboard bristled with maps and photos, and shelves held gear I wasn't allowed to touch. Mom pulled up footage of the fakes casing Cedar Valley days earlier, lurking near mailboxes and fences. She didn't speak for a moment, letting the images sink in. "I didn't tell you everything," she said finally. "We've been tracking a burglary ring using fake HOA inspections as a front. Today, you helped us nab 2 of their best." I blinked, piecing it together. The alarm wasn't paranoia. Mom hadn't been doing paperwork late at night. She'd been running a sting from our basement. "You stayed calm, didn't tip them off," she added, ruffling my hair. Textbook fieldwork. "So, what now?" I asked. Her smile faded. "We dig deeper. They wouldn't have hit this house unless they were desperate." She showed me a map dotted with red pins, dozens of homes hit with fake violations, like pool toy infractions, to plant surveillance devices. A chill ran through me. These weren't petty thieves, they were patient, methodical, planning something big. Mom handed me a device like a metal detector and said, "Walk with me." We swept the house, finding a button camera by the front window and a listening device behind the garage shelf. Each discovery fueled my anger. How many families had been watched unaware? Mom's radio crackled. 2 more fakes caught 3 streets over. "It's a whole team," she said, eyes narrowing. Back in the basement, she zoomed in on the fakes' IDs, linking them to a fraud network spanning 3 states. She looked tired, not physically, but mentally, the weight of it all pressing down. "What's next?" I asked. She tapped a sheet labeled Operation Valley Sting. A single word scrolled in red, "Closure." This wasn't just about today's arrests, it was about dismantling the entire network. The next morning, I woke to burnt toast and Mom pacing, her FBI voice barking into her phone. The arrests had sparked chaos, operatives were fleeing, destroying evidence. The fake HOA front was tied to an identity theft ring, stealing bank details and security codes from families across the region. Our house had been the spark that lit the fuse. The basement became a temporary FBI hub, buzzing with agents and whiteboards listing targets. Mom briefed me. Another pair of fakes was still active, and the FBI planned to lure them to a decoy house down the street, wired to catch them red-handed. They needed me to play bait, acting like I lived there to sell the ruse. My stomach churned, but Mom's confidence steadied me. An hour later, I was pushing a rickety mower across the decoy's lawn, heart pounding. A white van cruised by twice before parking. 2 men in familiar Willow Guard polos approached, fake smiles masking their intent. I waved awkwardly, pretending to struggle with the mower. They knocked on the door, no answer, as planned. Then one pulled lockpicking tools. I kept mowing, fighting the urge to run. Mom's voice echoed, "Stay cool." The moment the door clicked open, agents swarmed. SUVs screeched in. Shouts filled the air. One fake bolted but was tackled into a flower bed. The other surrendered, whimpering. Mom cuffed the lockpicker, flashing me a proud glance. "Good job, kid." The van yielded laptops, fake IDs, and disguises enough for a slew of charges. Back home, I collapsed, adrenaline spent. Mom tossed me a water bottle. "Most kids get grounded for skipping chores. You get drafted into stings." I laughed, but the scale of it hit me. This wasn't over. News crews descended, broadcasting the scam's takedown. Neighbors brought casseroles and questions, treating me like a celebrity. Mom gave a tight-lipped statement, sidestepping classified details. But behind the scenes, the case grew uglier. The FBI uncovered that real HOA board members had fed the criminals resident data for kickbacks. Agents raided Cedar Valley HOA offices, seizing ledgers of illegal consulting fees. Watching the HOA president cuffed, shouting about misunderstandings, was pure catharsis. At a chaotic town hall, residents demanded answers. Mom stood firm, explaining the HOA's betrayal had invited the wolves. The crowd turned on the disgraced officials, scheduling a recall vote. A class action lawsuit followed, targeting the corrupt board for millions. Cedar Valley transformed. Strangers became allies, forming watch groups and hosting barbecues. Mom became a reluctant legend, kids shouting, "Thanks, FBI lady," as they biked past. But Mom wasn't done. She sensed the real mastermind was still out there. A week later, a number kept appearing in confiscated phones, tied to a burner bought 2 towns over. Security footage revealed Martin Grayson, a former HOA vice president who'd resigned years ago. I remembered his creepy smiles, his too-fast chatter. He'd been casing us even then. The FBI staked out his house, watching him play suburban dad. One morning, agents knocked with a warrant. Martin's smile vanished. He folded instantly, confessing how he built the scam from desperation after a failed deal. Cedar Valley threw a block party celebrating survival. Residents honored Mom with a banner, "Thank you, our real protector." She blushed, waving off the attention, but I saw her smile. As fireworks lit the sky, we shared kettle corn. "Not bad for a week's work," she said. The scam network was dismantled. Martin and his operatives faced decades in prison, and the HOA was rebuilt with honest leaders. Cedar Valley emerged stronger, its trust forged in the fire of Mom's sting. Lying in bed, I realized our strength wasn't in rules, but in community, and a mom with a Glock, a warrant, and a kid who stayed cool under pressure.